Is I'm going to take you to one place. I am going to take you to a piece that was done on CNN. There was an historian there who had spoken to Mike Smerconish, and he was an historian, apparently Joe Biden, who possibly can't even remember the present, much less history. There's a number of historians who came to go see Joe Biden, and I thought that this was a very telling piece to have here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this for you because I want you to see exactly what they said and what they discussed here. I want you to see for yourselves, and then we're going to take it further.
Is American democracy teetering on the brink? That's what President Biden was warned about a week ago by a group of esteemed historians in a private meeting at the White House. The historians, one of whom is my next guest, compared the threat facing America to the era leading up to the Civil War and to the pro-fascist movements that preceded World War II. And that was before this week's raid on Mar-a-Lago, quote unquote, and its incendiary polarizing effects. There were death threats against the judge who issued the warrant, and online attacks on the entire FBI, plus a physical attack on the Cincinnati field office by an armed man who'd been at the Capitol on January 6th and who was fatally shot after a standoff. On Monday night, the phrase Civil War was trending on Twitter. One user on Trump's social media platform, Truth Social, said, F a civil war, give them a revolution. Joining me now to discuss is Sean Wilentz, who attended the meeting with President Biden. He's a professor of history at Princeton University. Professor, good to see you. You have said that when a nation loses faith in elections, democracy is dead. Are we there yet?
No, we're not there yet. But first of all, good morning, Michael. It's great to be here with you.
Now, you remember that we've been saying that for a while now here, that if the elections are not going to serve our interests, and if they are not going to be fair and are not going to protect the people, if the elections are not going to serve us, then you're going to see something else occur. Now you're hearing the corporate media sounding the alarm of something that we've been saying now for years, which is that it's not that the people are going to stop pushing their interests. It is going to be that the people will stop looking to the ballot box to do that. Noam Chomsky, Saul Alinsky, and other people, Malcolm X, Dr. King, they have warned for decades that if the establishment did not protect the rights of the people, then the people would protect their rights themselves. And now you're hearing the corporate media beginning to ring that alarm ever so slightly, but they're starting to ring it now very, very clearly. And that was what this whole piece was about.
Professor, good to see you. You have said that when a nation loses faith in elections, democracy is dead. Are we there yet?
No, we're not there yet. But first of all, good morning, Michael. It's great to be here with you. Look, what we said to the president, I can't go into in any detail, right? But generally, as a historian, I think we're in a very, very difficult situation, to say the least. There really have been three periods I liken it to, or rather, there are three periods that stand out. One is, as you said before, the decade leading up to the Civil War. Secondly, the 1930s, amidst the global economic collapse. And then a longer period, actually, it's culminated in what we have now, but it really goes back at least to the 90s and hit an inflection point, I think, around 2000, in which, now, what's common to all three are two things. First of all, it's global as well as domestic. All of these are situations where, the situation for democracy worldwide was in crisis, and it was in combination with that the events unfolded in the United States. But secondly, it has to do with legitimacy. I mean, that's the key to all of this, is when the basic institutions of the country are being called in, the legitimacy of those institutions is being called into serious question. That certainly happened before the Civil War. It led to secession when the slaveholders' rebellion, in which they said, look, we don't believe in your constitution is wrong, we have our own, goodbye. in the 1930s when there were these fascist movements, but more than that, there were real attempts to take over the government, not just by, the German-American Bund or something, but there was a banker's plot. There were all kinds of things that were going on that were trying to unsettle American democracy. And then more recently, and which you see not only elections, as you said before, elections being called into question, January 6th, but then you go back to November 22nd, 2000, in which there was another mob tried to stop the counting of votes in Miami-Dade. It may have affected the election. All along, the basic institutions of government. Now we have even the FBI, law enforcement, is being called into question. Those are moments, I think, when democracy.
Now, the historian here, Mr. Wilentz, he was referring there in passing basically to the beer hall push. So when Adolf Hitler originally had stood up at this beer hall, this is back in the 1920s, I want to say 1923, somewhere around there, and basically they had given a speech, and when they left the damn beer hall, they went and tried to overthrow the government. That's just how quickly it happened. He gave a speech at the beer hall. Next thing you know, let's knock off the Weimar Republic. And that's exactly what's going on there. So you hear him alluding to that when the government's lost its legitimacy in the eyes of the people, when the government loses its legitimacy, that's when all hell breaks loose. That's when things really start to fall. And we've been warning about this for a while, about the dangers of a government that once it loses its legitimacy, that becomes a real problem. When that government loses its legitimacy, that becomes a real issue. That's one of the things for us to keep in mind. That's a dangerous thing to have occur. That is a dangerous thing to have happen. So he's giving direct allusions to the slave owners in America before they started the Confederacy, to Adolf Hitler and the beer hall push, which eventually gave way to the Night of Long Knives, for those of you who know your World War I and World War II history. And now you got CNN ringing the alarms right now. That tells you that a lot of folk are very, very worried. They're very, very worried. For those of you who watch the TV show Game of Thrones, you'll remember Olenna Tyrell said that, if we don't give the people something to distract themselves with, then the people will come up with their own distractions. And those will usually end with them coming after us in the aristocracy. So we better give them some place to focus their energy. Because if we don't, they'll start remembering who they really don't like.
Really is in trouble, and we're certainly at that one of those moments now. The basic institutions of government. Now we have even the FBI, law enforcement, is being called into question. Those are moments, I think, when democracy really is in trouble, and we're certainly at that one of those moments now.
Okay, so
the FBI has been illegitimate for a while. The FBI was created to target black people. The FBI spent its existence targeting black people. The CIA then joined in on it. The FBI was the federal government's wing to oppress black people. It has murdered black people everywhere across the country, and then the CIA around the world in order to protect white supremacy. Now that the FBI is in the hands of some of CNN's friends, and now that the people have said, yeah, we've decided because it's not protecting white supremacy that it's no longer legitimate, let me tell you, they're letting you know who their real issue is with. They're letting you know who they're really afraid. They're seeing white men in large groups speaking out against this. And they know white men have a license to handle these things differently than black people do. White men have a pedigree of handling these things differently because law enforcement is overrun by these people. Law enforcement, including the FBI, is overrun by these elements. So yes, they're very concerned over there. Because you see, you're used to the idea of black people being killed, and when it happens, it just gets glossed over. See, you're accustomed to that. What you're not accustomed to are white folk being under threat, and then law enforcement saying, yeah, let's sweep this under the rug. No big issue here. Understand what they're so worried about. See, they cut their teeth. They cut their teeth, violating our rights, victimizing us. That's where they cut their teeth on it. Now they realize, oh, hell, everything is in place. All the tools are in place. All the necessary ingredients are in place now. The batter has already been mixed. The cake has already been mixed. All we got to do is shove the damn thing in the oven for them to do it to us now in the dominant society. All the pieces are already there. When we were sitting there and, well, with Mike Brown, he should have just obeyed. Well, Eric Garner, pre-existing health condition. Tamir Rice, toy guns are no good anyway. Terrence Crutcher, he should have walked backwards on his hands is what he should have done there. Philando Castile, well, your gun permit, nobody can really see that very, very well. Muhammad Noor, well, Justine Damon, I can understand whatever. Yeah. You started giving all these excuses for all these years, and now it is completely in place. And if they want to come for you, there is now nothing to stop them. You better believe these folks are worried. Now, you notice you're not hearing the damn lone wolf talk. You see, when they come after black people, it's a lone wolf. Now that you're discussing the possibility, they could come after you now. You're not hearing the words lone wolf anymore. You're just, overriding conspiracy, culture, they're interconnected. Oh, there's a big movement. Wow, totally different from the way you described it when it was us. When you were discussing us, totally different. Totally different. Now, if you all agree with what you're hearing here tonight, give me a thumbs up in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. We're here on the backup channel. We're making it blow up like we need to, but if you like what you're hearing, hit the thumbs up button and then hit the likes button for me here. Otherwise, I'm going to think y'all don't like what you're hearing. I'll go ahead and cut things off early tonight if I'm offending y'all. We got almost 2,500 people watching here live right now, and this is just on my backup channel. So if you like what you hear, give me the thumbs up emoji and then hit the likes button. We're playing zero games about it here tonight. This is the insight and analysis that you'll receive nowhere else. There's a reason why we're talking about this. So go ahead and hit the likes button for me. They are sounding the alarm now on something that we've been talking about here in the New Black Media for years and years. While Roland Martin was trying to get the big piece of chicken, we've been sitting over here talking about this and sounding the alarm for years, and now the dominant society, all of a sudden, for their interests in the corporate media, now all of a sudden they want to say it too. Don't you know the fix is in? Don't you know somebody is worried? And they should be worried. They should be, because after this, there's another news piece I want to play for you, which really outlines why the hell they are worried. They're letting you know that they are literally scared to death about what's going to happen. No, I'm not embellishing it. No, I'm not exaggerating it.
Question. Those are moments, I think, when democracy really is in trouble, and we're certainly at that one of those moments now.
Okay, so when you look at those three episodes that you compare what we're going through now to, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? How do they end, and what can move us forward and keep this union together?
Yeah, I'm an historian. Sometimes I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't know. History does not give us those kinds of lessons. Thus far, the United States has been very lucky in a way that we had leaders like Abraham Lincoln and FDR to guide us through this. We not have that kind of leadership today.
The United States has been very lucky in that black people were not in a position. The United States has been very lucky in that black people were a different kind of people. So they always gloss over this talking about leadership. Leadership that kept black people under wraps. But let's be very, very clear. He's quite correct. The United States has been lucky. It certainly has been, just not the way that he's describing it. Hasn't been lucky for those reasons. It's been lucky for a host of other reasons. A host of other reasons. By the way, thank you to everybody who's contributed to tonight's program here on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat. So Grind Time and everybody else here who's contributed to the program here tonight, thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. He's saying that for a good reason.
But besides all of that, we don't know where things are going to change institutionally, but we do know that at the bottom of all of it are the voters in the end. I mean, that's what's going to matter. And, it's going to be up to the voters to vote in people who are going to be able to restore the legitimacy of these institutions. And, I do think we're in a dangerous situation. I would agree with you, by the way, about everybody should just take a deep breath right now. Instead of jumping to conclusions, figuring out what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there, the argument at the Keurig between the Democrat and the Republican, everybody should try to calm down. That would be the first thing I'd say.
Well, Mr. Walentz here is trying to do his black clergy interpretation to white folk. Well, I think everybody just needs to calm down. Just bring it down a notch. And, let's take a deep breath here. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath here. Let me tell you something here, Mr. Walentz. You're not quoting the right damn people, sir. You're supposed to be a historian, but you're not quoting the right damn people. If you were, then you would be quoting the insight and the wisdom and the majesty of Malcolm X, who warned you 60 years ago. If you'll all remember, when Malcolm X gave that speech where he was talking about these things, when he was talking about the ballot or the bullet. Mr. Walentz clearly doesn't know about it, because if he did, he would be citing it now. There is wisdom way before his time. When Malcolm X talked about, when black people demanded to get white folks homes. White folk left their homes in the cities and then built new homes for themselves in the suburbs. And when black people demanded to go to white folks' schools, they abandoned their dilapidated, rundown schools in the city and then built new schools for themselves in the suburbs. Now black people are coming for the white man's job. Can the white man abandon his jobs and his economy as easily as he abandoned his homes and his schools? Not without violence and bloodshed. Those were the words of Malcolm X. You see, you can't tell them to take a deep breath and calm down at this moment. You're not going to be able to do that. You're going after where the seat of the power is. You're going after where the root of it is. You ain't going to be able to talk them down. You're not going to get them to say, well, everybody just calm down. Just don't worry about it here. See, things are okay. It's okay. It's all right now. Just let the system play out. These folks already understand when you start that damn let the system play out and we're going to start a commission and have a committee and a study. They already know what the hell it is. They ain't going to go for it. Hell, black folk aren't going for it anymore. We're not going for it anymore. The dominant society damn sure ain't gonna go for it. Man, you are sitting up here whistling to yourself right now. You're not gonna get them to go for that? They're not going for it. Just keep telling yourself they will. Just can you go ahead and calm down? Just bring it down a notch. Man, look here, they turned up. They ain't trying to bring nothing down. They turned up. They turned up. So just understand, he's trying his black clergy imitation on white folk. How far y'all think that's gonna get? He's trying his clergy imitation on white society. Man, look here.
Everybody should just take a deep breath right now. Instead of jumping to conclusions, figuring out what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there, the argument at the Keurig between the Democrat and the Republican, everybody should try to calm down. That would be the first thing I'd say. We don't know what's going to happen. We've seen the cover of a book.
Professor, one of the problems is we can't agree. We can't agree on facts. We can't agree on truth.
Yeah.
When you speak of lack of faith in institutions, I think of the media, where we're all getting our information from opposite ends of the spectrum.
I'd like to speak on that too here, Mike Smerconish. I'd like to speak on that because you're right. There has been a conflict about facts for a while now, as in if a black person has a weapon or not, what should happen if an unarmed black person is gunned down. Y'all have never heard of a story of an unarmed white woman who got shot 14 damn times, or an unarmed white man who got shot 40 times, 50 times, 60 damn times. You never heard it. You never heard any of those things. So you're quite correct, Mr. Smirkanish. We've had a decades-long issue here, centuries-long issue here, where we can't agree on what reality and truth is. Black folk are talking about what we saw with our eyes, and white folk are saying, well, we're white and we say so. What you mean we got to... Yeah, your eyes don't mean nothing. I'm white and I say so. Oh, well, them's the breaks. That's the way the system goes. You know, we run things. So, I mean, it's just, you know, forgive. Even Barack Obama, our handpicked puppet for you Negroes, forgive. Yeah, we've been having an issue with that for a while now, Mr. Smirkanish. We've been having an issue with that for a while. And individuals like yourself and CNN have sat there exacerbating and promoting it. That what people see with their own eyes and what happened to them is not the damn truth. That none of that matters. That the status quo is all that matters. None of that matters. Yeah, we've been having this issue for a damn long time. Rodney King got beaten down in the middle of the damn street on video. And then we got told what issue? What problem? We don't see no problem. What beating? What you talking about? There was a beating. Beating where? We didn't see nothing. We didn't see a thing. Tamir Rice. What? Can't you see the gun was real? Walter Scott shot in the back. Well, I mean, there was probably more to it there. There's more than just what you see on video. More than what you see on video. We saw the entire event from beginning to end. What the hell are you talking about? More than what you see on the video. There's nothing more than that. We just saw the events. Yes, but there was more going on before he got stopped. What the hell? Such as, well, we're not sure what it was, but there was just more going on. Yeah, see, this is the insanity we've been talking about for a while. And things didn't change until we said, yeah, you know what? We done talking. We're done talking. You're not denying reality because you truly believe it's not real. You're denying it because what you're saying is, well, we don't have to respect you. Okay. See, I've warned you all now for decades now. Black folk have spoiled the dominant society. We spoiled the government. We spoiled them into believing that everybody is going to respond to injustice exactly the way we do. I said this when the Black Channel first started over 13 years ago. We have, as black people, we have spoiled the world. We spoiled particularly the American government into believing that everybody gonna respond to injustice like we do. That you can treat everyone exactly the way you do black folk. Hey, you set the template and the model. You can treat everybody like you do black folk, and this is gonna be the template for how everybody's gonna respond. Not so. Not so. And by the way, it's not even working on black folk anymore. Not even working on black people anymore. Not working on us anymore either. But we spoiled everybody into believing that all these other folk are going to respond the way that we do. And lo and be damn hold, it ain't responding the way it used to anymore. So yes, there's some folk in high places who are scared witless right now. It's a sad scene.
I completely agree. And it's a real problem. We've never seen, there wasn't an internet in 1860. There wasn't social media in 1932, 33. We're in a world now which is beyond my comprehension as an historian. I look to the past. I can't quite figure out what's going on right now. So I'm not, terribly optimistic. I'm just giving you what would have to happen. I'm not sure it's going to happen.
Final question.
Boy, I'm telling you, he's sitting right there in Princeton. He's like, I don't know what the hell gonna happen, boy. Okay, this is the guy you're looking to for guidance and wisdom? By the way, thank you to everybody there in the super chat. I think I got super thanks also, but thank you to everybody here who's contributed to support a nice program. We appreciate that. Let me tell you, your professor here is shook. Your professor here is shook. They brought him all the way from Princeton. I mean, he just straight shook. He like, what the hell you talking about? Answers? I ain't got no damn answers. What you mean answers? What the hell you want me to tell you? Answers? I didn't say I had no damn answers. I'm here to tell you what the problem is. You got migraines, you got stage 4 cancer, you're going into renal failure, congestive heart failure. Oh, well, Doc, what's the answer? I didn't say there's no answer. I'm here to tell you what the problem is. Really? Okay. You all went through all that trouble to bring him in. Oh, man, look here, you're in late stage illness of every damn thing. Well, what can we do? Man, I don't know. I didn't say I could save you. I'm just here to tell you what's about to happen. Didn't say I could save you. Boy, y'all paid him a lot of damn money to bring him there for that, didn't you? Paid a lot of damn money to bring him there for that. Boy, I'm telling you. That's got to be rough. Would love to sit up here and tell you that the issue stops there, but it don't. But it don't. It doesn't. You know why? Because there was another one that Mike Smerconish did. Oh, hell. I want you all to listen to this one, because this dovetails off of that video there. Listen to what he has to say here, and listen to what he says the problem is now. A lot of folks better pay attention here. You're starting to see things dovetail off of each other. Not a good sign.
Are demographics still destiny? I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. I remember this well. It arrived with a thunderclap. January of 2008, Pew Research Center released a report titled U.S. Population Projections from 2005 to 2050. And the overview said this: if current trends continue, the demographic profile of the United States will change dramatically by the middle of the century. Among the projections that by 2050, the nation's racial and ethnic mix would look quite different than it did then. Non-Hispanic whites, who made up 67% of the population in 2005, were projected to be just 47% by 2050. And this was widely interpreted to be good news for one party. Demographics are the Democrats' best friend, or so thought many. In fact, in 2009, James Carville even wrote a book titled 40 More Years, How Democrats Will Rule the Next Generation. But here we are 14 years.
By the way, did you see that picture on the front of that book?
In fact, in 2009, James Carville even wrote a book titled 40 More Years, How Democrats Will Rule the Next Generation.
Yeah, look at that, boy. There they are with their favorite little pet Negro there. Their favorite little immigrant pet Negro there. There's Barack. Look at him. 40 more years letting you know, yep, this is our boy. This is how it's going to get done. When you see a white man this happy that white people will not be the majority, that tells you that he already has a plan to keep white folk in power. When you see a white man this happy about black people or non-white people moving ahead, you know that white man already got the fix in. And by showing Obama on there, he's letting you know, oh, this is the plan. This is the plan right here. This is the plan right here. In 40 more years, it won't be non-white people running things. It's going to be white folk running it. He's letting you know that's what it is. James Carville is from Louisiana, just like me. I'm telling you right now, ain't no way in the hell he's sitting up here celebrating no non-white people, especially black folk running anything. No, if he's celebrating, he's letting you know the fix is in. The fix is already in.
But here we are 14 years later, and things might not be turning out as anticipated. In fact, Josh Krushower from Axios is calling the new great realignment arguably the biggest political story of our time. Here's the latest data. If current trends continue, the U.S. population will rise to 404 million by 2060. The non-Hispanic white population is projected to shrink over that time by nearly 19 million. Now, non-Hispanic whites are projected to become a minority sooner than was anticipated, by 2045. Previously, it was presumed that this was a huge threat to the Republican Party, which had not been doing well with minority voters. But this is no longer the case. Data from a recent Times Siena poll shows that although gaining support from college-educated white voters, the Democratic Party is losing support from minorities, specifically Hispanics.
Oh, wait a minute now. Now, wasn't it Jason Black who said this a decade ago? Started saying this a decade ago. Nobody else was saying this. It was Jason Black specifically a decade ago that pointed out two things. Number one, these Latino voters do not see themselves as a minority. Dr. Claude Anderson said the same thing. They don't see themselves as a minority. And number two, they come from places that generally have a white supremacist type culture, and that contrary to getting booed up with the Democrats, that if they have the choice between choosing between a pretend white supremacist and a genuine white strong man, they're going to choose the white strong man because they come from cultures that do that. Which is why I was able to accurately predict the 2016 presidential election, complete with which states it was. And when people were arguing with me and debating about me about the state of Florida, and I said specifically, Trump is going to carry the state of Florida. And folks talking about Marco Rubio, I said, if you think Marco Rubio is going to carry the state of Florida, you don't know anything about Latinos down there. And a lot of folk demonstrated they knew not a damn thing. Florida broke exactly the way I called it a year in advance. I called it, and it went exactly the way I said it was going to be. Folks, that's not guessing. That's not guessing. You got to have reliable information to be able to properly predict and forecast how this is going to happen. And now, after all these years of denying it, claiming it wasn't there, trying to dispute it, saying it wasn't so, here comes CNN finally, after all these years, the New York Times finally coming to say what I've been saying for over a decade now, which is that these Latino voters are going to be the ones who are going to be most likely to vote Republican. And anybody who lives in southern Florida already knows this. I talked about Jorge Masvidal in the UFC and Marco Rubio. Okay, but guess what? In Texas with Mexico, y'all need to understand something right here. Them folks don't have a problem with that. Right now, there's a damn uprising in Juarez, Mexico right now. There's been violence for the last day or two out there. They're shooting, they're busting, they're burning things. It's chaos down there in Juarez, Mexico right now as we speak. Guess what? The folks who are fleeing Mexico, you talking about putting up a fence? If they could, they would close and lock the door behind them. When they cross that border from Mexico to America, they know so much is screwed up over there. If they could, they would close and lock the door behind them. They don't want that following them over here. I told you about this over a decade ago. If the illegals who are coming over here, ironically enough, if they could, they wouldn't put up a damn wall. They would just sit up here and cut Mexico off from North America altogether. If they could. Damn, pulling up the ladder behind them. They wouldn't build a wall, they would build a moat. The very folk you trying to give asylum to, if they could, they would build a damn moat. As evidenced by the fact that when they get over here, take a look at the way in which they start voting. Just as soon as they get their paper straight, it's Republican straight down the line. Just as soon as they get their paper right, it's Republican straight down the line. Straight Republican ticket. While you got some jackass out here trying to tell you, well, you know, Latinos is black people too. They knows they black peoples too. How many of you been hearing those jackasses now for over a decade? Latinos is black people. They know that they's black folks also. They black people too. Somebody tell that ADHD jackass sit the hell down. Yes, I explained all that to you all about Uvalde, Texas. Go back and watch my program here from a month or so ago in Uvalde. You have an entire town that is majority Latino, and yet they elected a white man as their mayor. Majority Latino city, but they elected an Anglo-white man as their mayor. Right-wing Anglo. Just had a school get shot up, and they are still pro-gun. Don't want to change nothing. I pointed this out from the beginning because I want you to actually understand the psychology behind this stuff. Don't sit up here and just take a look at numbers. You talking about, ooh, there's illegals over here, illegal. They're bringing these folk over here for a reason. Because if these people were truly going to change the status quo, they would never have allowed them over here. They're allowing over people who are going to maintain the status quo, not change the status quo. The status quo is not a white numerical majority. I have tried to teach you this now for over a decade since I started the Black Channel. The status quo is not a white numerical majority. The status quo is a white socioeconomic majority. It doesn't matter if there are only 4 white people still remaining on the American continent. As long as they control 95% of the wealth, they're okay with it. They don't give a damn whether they are the numerical majority of the population or numerical minority of the population. In the words of Lord Rothschild, give me control of people's money and I care not who makes its laws. And folks, you got Negroes who sat up here and been kissing Alex Jones' ass now for decades. They love repeating that kind of stuff they heard over there, but yet they don't take it to heart and haven't learned any of the lessons from it. These people do not care who's the population majority so long as they run it. Case in point, Detroit. New Orleans, they don't give a damn who the majority population is so long as they run the place. So long as they run the place. Atlanta, majority black city. But in the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, but black people own nothing of any consequence. Every time I go to Atlanta, if you want to go to the really nice places and stuff, you're going to the Westin, you're going to the Marriott, you're going to all these places that are owned by white people. Now, if you want the good food and stuff, you go where black folk are. But let's just keep it real. There's no $1 billion or $300 million structures. When you're talking about who holds the wealth and who holds the power, it's only one place. These folks are perfectly fine with this situation being the way it is so long as they run it. And now they're bringing in folks who are going to help bolster it. So they're bringing in a labor force that will make sure that black people do not invoke reparations and gain that political majority. They're making sure that doesn't occur. But these other folks are not here to destroy white supremacy. They're not here to attack white supremacy. If they were, they'd stop them 40 years ago. That's why, as black people, we're making this distinction between being foundationals and freedmen versus the immigrant class, because the only immigrants they're bringing over here are the ones who are going to maintain the status quo. Yeah, they can be black, but they're not going to attack white supremacy. Yeah, bring plenty over here. They'll be the workforce. They'll go to the colleges. Hell, all they want to do is sit up here and get a pat on the head from white society. They love that mess. Don't y'all understand? Colonization is about white people becoming comfortable in places that are majority black. Let me say that one more time for the slow bus kids. Colonialism is about white people being comfortable in places that are majority black. That is what colonialism is all about. And you see that today when you see young white people have absolutely no problem anywhere. Anybody who has been around the world, if you use your passport or whatever, if you go to Tahiti, if you go to Maui, if you go to the Philippines, if you go to Thailand, you see white men walking around over there like they own the damn place everywhere you damn well go. Young white men, not old white men, young white men. He'll be the only white dude there. He'll have his arms around 3 or 4 Polynesian chicks. A young white man letting you know that there is absolutely no difference between the mindset of Cristobal Colon, Christopher Columbus, and the young white men of today. This is generational. This is not just cultural, it's generational. Recognize that. It's generational. They have long developed the philosophy and the ability to be very, very comfortable in a room where there are no white people. Very comfortable with that. I don't sit up here and discuss my travels, but they become very comfortable with that. Any of you who are in the military, you've seen that. Any of you who've been in the military, the Army, the Navy, and you've had to go around the world to places, you've seen that with your own eyes. If there's a white man there, he sets up a bar or he sets up some snow cone stand or whatever. He's been there for 20 damn years. He's the only white man there, but he has gotten completely comfortable where he is. That is what colonization is all about. That's what colonialism is all about. Becoming comfortable. And understand, he'll be the only white man there, but he runs the damn thing. He'll be the only white man there, but he runs the damn thing, and the locals know it. When he gets there, he's their go-to guy for imports. He brings in the stuff that they can't get their hands on their own. He becomes the plug for all the import stuff. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always been. So they're perfectly comfortable in that environment. And when you see them beginning to change the demographics here, understand they're like, okay, we already got control of the socioeconomics. So long as we control that, we cool, we straight, we square, we all right. And a lot of folks who are sitting up here thinking that, well, see, this is what so many of the old, bumbling, dumbass Negroes from the civil rights generation, they were hedging all their bets. Well, don't worry. These Asians and Latinos and Arabs, they's minorities just like us. That's what white folk told them. Well, they're minorities just like us. Dr. Claude Anderson said that no, they are not. Dr. John Henry Clark said that no, they are not. They've never been. And now you set up here and you've been holding the door open and you still have some brainwashed, boot-licking, ass-kissing Negroes over here still doing the same damn thing. Understand, the numbers are not going to lie to you there. And yes, that includes New York City. Yes, that includes New York City. Michael Bloomberg is Jewish. He never would have sat up here and been promoting these things if it wasn't going to make him richer and give him more power or for him and his heirs. He was never going to support that kind of thing. When you see Michael Bloomberg and Rupert Murdoch on the same damn side of this issue, that lets you know right there, Negro, the fix is in. The fix is in. The only person deceived about it is you. The fix is in. The fix is in. Recognize that. Folks need to understand that. The fix is in. These people are not sitting up here saying these things because they're bored. I was telling you all this before because I wanted you to have a leg up and to have forecast of what was happening here. Now you got it. Now you see that your corporate cable news outlets are finally saying what I was saying a decade ago. Yeah, of course they're going to tell you when it's too late. Of course they're going to tell you when it's too damn late. They didn't wait a damn decade later. Of course they have no problem saying it now. It's a decade later. They're going to wait until you have no opportunity to do anything about it or it's too late to do anything. Now they'll acknowledge it, yeah, when you can't do anything. Now that you can't do anything about it, hell yeah, they're going to let you know now, yeah, you can't do nothing a decade later. We're supposed to be talking about this when I was saying it. And by the way, I was saying it after other folk were saying it. I was just a young cat coming up and saw it on my own. But there were some folks before then who had been seeing what was happening also and were saying something about it. We've been sounding the alarm about this for decades. Why is the CNN's just now saying it? They're only just now saying it because of what he's about to tell you next.
But this is no longer the case. Data from a recent Times Siena poll shows that although gaining support from college-educated white voters, the Democratic Party is losing support from minorities, specifically Hispanics, as well as the working class. As CNN's Harry Enton recently pointed out, Republicans are currently polling 10 points better with people of color than their previous best year, 2004. And Harry explains it this way. Part of why that's occurring is the changing demographic makeup of voters of color. They're a lot more Hispanic than they used to be. At the same time, they're a lot less black. Hispanic voters don't support Democrats as much as black voters. But that's not all that's going on. Democratic support from Asian American, black, and Hispanic voters is much lower than it has usually been.
Oh, wait a minute now. So anybody who was going to try to tell you, well, it's just a Hispanic thing, he comes along and says, well, Hispanic voters don't support Democrats as much as black voters. However, Democrats support among Asians, Black, and Hispanic voters is much lower than it has usually been. Well, I'll be damned. So if you would only listen to the first part of it, you would have believed, well, the support among Black folk is still strong. No, it's still strong. And he's confirming what we have been saying the whole damn time. Even support among Black people is falling. Even among Black people, it is falling. Now, that's not accidental. Yeah, demographics may be destiny, sir. Mathematics certainly matters. Mathematics certainly matters. Now, I want you all to take a look at this right here. 2024 predictions among college-educated white voters. But remember, the white population is shrinking. What good does it do you to keep having a plurality of a shrinking demographic? What about the folks who are actually growing in numbers? Where do you stand with them? When you take a look at where you stand with them, it looks a hell of a lot worse. Among the groups where there's actually growth happening. So let me get this straight. You're gaining a majority of a shrinking population, and you're shrinking in numbers among the growing populations. Think about that for a few moments. Remember, he just started off by saying the white population is falling here. Okay, well, who are the Democrats doing great with?
Huge threat to the Republican Party, which had not been doing well with minority voters. But this is no longer the case. Data from a recent Times Siena poll shows that although gaining support from college-educated white voters, the Democratic Party is losing support from minorities, specifically Hispanics, as well as the working class. As CNN's Harry Enton recently pointed out, Republicans are currently polling 10 points better with people of color than their previous best year, 2004. And Harry explains it this way. Part of why that's occurring is the changing demographic makeup of voters of color. They're a lot more Hispanic than they used to be. At the same time, they're a lot less Black. Hispanic voters don't support Democrats as much as Black voters. But that's not all that's going on. Democratic support from Asian American, Black, and Hispanic voters is much lower than it has usually been. And what issues are driving this great realignment? The New York Times analysis summarizes them like this. Voters who said abortion, guns, or threats to democracy were the biggest problem facing the country backed Democrats by a wide margin as Republicans make new inroads among non-white and working class voters who remain more concerned about the economy.
Well, did you get that? This is the New York Times now. Voters who said abortion, guns, or threats to democracy were the biggest problem facing the country backed Democrats by a wide margin as Republicans make new inroads among non-white and working class voters who remain more concerned about the economy. Something that I've been saying for the longest time here. Something that I've been sounding the alarm about now for the longest time. Not accidental, folks. Not accidental.
Non-white and working class voters who remain more concerned about the economy. You'll remember that last month in a special election in South Texas, in the heavily Hispanic, blue-leaning 34th Congressional District, it was Republican Mayra Flores who flipped the first Democratic seat of the 2022 cycle. Axios' Crush Hour says the...
By the way, on one end of the demographic, you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. On the one end of the demographic, you have a young Latina, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, up there in New York. Meanwhile, down in Texas...
You'll remember that last month in a special election in South Texas, in the heavily Hispanic, blue-leaning 34th Congressional District, it was Republican Mayra Flores who flipped the first Democratic seat of the 2022 cycle. Axios' Crush Hour says the bottom line is this: the GOP is trading soccer moms for Walmart dads.
Whoa, ain't that something? Now, you got all these folk out here been demonizing black men and trying to tell black men how we need to vote and what we need to do. And take a look at what they're saying among Latinos the Republican Party, well, they're saying here, they come out the great realignment. I think you mean the great replacement is what you're trying to say. But in any case, the GOP is trading soccer moms for Walmart dads. Well, interesting. After all that bull crap about the future is females, like, oh no, we're trading soccer moms for Walmart dads. I'll be damned.
Or put another way, gone are the days of country club Republicans. Here are the days of country club Democrats. This whole discussion immediately brings to my mind.
So in other words, you're saying here that I don't know what he's trying to say about that. If you're not struggling, you're the country club. What is he trying to say? I don't know. But once again, he's out of touch.
Here are the days of country club Democrats. This whole discussion immediately brings to my mind Thomas Frank, the New York Times bestselling author who's been analyzing political trends for decades. He's written multiple books on the subject, including his latest, The People Know, A Brief History of Anti-Populism. It was in 2004 that Frank wrote his award-winning What's the Matter with Kansas? How Conservatives Won the Heart of America, in which he evaluates the question, why do the working people of Kansas historically vote for Republican candidates, even though supporting them seems against their interests? Thomas Frank joins me now. Thomas, thanks for coming back. Chicken and egg question for you. Did Trump bring this about in some way, or did this realignment give rise to Trump-like candidates?
Now, by the way, hi, Michael. Thanks for having me on. I would say this process has been going on for a long time, for my entire lifetime, but Trump has certainly accelerated it. I should say, I come from I grew up in a part of the state of Kansas that's closely identified with country club republicanism. I'm referring to Johnson County, Kansas, which is the affluent suburbs of Kansas City. And when I was a kid, I thought this was the most Republican place in the world, and it was at the time. And it just flipped for Joe Biden in 2020. Kind of an amazing story, but that's happening in affluent suburbs all over America.
So is it an American phenomena, or is this a global phenomena? I'm thinking Brexit may have something to do with it.
Oh my God, yeah, it is global now, but it's been going on longer in this country. Look, the beginning of all this, as with so many of the things that we're still fighting over here in America, it all begins in the late 1960s. When you basically have the Democratic Party in a civil war, fighting with themselves over Vietnam, over civil rights issues. And at some point they decided they no longer wanted to be the party of organized labor. They basically wanted to turn their backs on the white working class and the New Deal. And it took them years to finally do this, but they along the way, they developed a new sort of understanding of themselves, that they were going to be a party of what was the term that they like to use, the wired workers or the learning class. They were going to be a party of affluent white-collar professionals, and also of minorities, of the people you were talking about. The problem with this theory is it leads them to this sort of incredible complacency when dealing with these voters. They back in the Clinton years, they used to always say those people have nowhere else to go, right? So they could do whatever they wanted. They didn't have to, actually get anything done on these voters' behalf. They didn't have to deliver anything. The people that they really had to worry about were those, affluent suburban professionals. Those are the ones they had to care about. And it assumes that.
Let me back that up a little bit so you all can hear that one more time there.
The term that they like to use, the wired workers or the learning class, are going to be a party of affluent white-collar professionals, and also of minorities, of the people you were talking about. The problem with this theory is it leads them to this sort of incredible complacency when dealing with these voters. They back in the Clinton years, they used to always say those people have nowhere else to go, right? So they could do whatever they wanted. They didn't have to, actually get anything done on these voters' behalf. They didn't have to deliver anything. The people that they really had to worry about were those, affluent suburban professionals. Those are the ones they had to care about. And
well, does that sound familiar? Well, we don't have to do anything for black folk. We don't have to do anything for them. Well, we'll worry about the folks who really matter, but we don't actually have to do anything for them. Well, we got other folk. Don't you? All the rest of y'all need to sit down and don't worry about it. We'll take care of you later. Now, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that sound so familiar? As I said, they cut their teeth utilizing these methods and tactics on black folk. They cut their teeth doing that. And all these political strategists and writers and whatnot, they've known this forever. And now that it's running out of steam and it's done flipped on them, now they're sounding the alarm. But isn't it amazing? Yeah. They've been doing this strategy for a while.
When dealing with these voters, they back in the Clinton years, they used to always say those people have nowhere else to go, right? So they could do whatever they wanted. They didn't have to, they didn't have to actually get anything done on these voters' behalf. They didn't have to deliver anything. The people that they really had to worry about were those, affluent suburban professionals. Those are the ones they had to care about. And it assumes that the Republicans, are never going to actually do anything to reach out to these people, but that's an incorrect assumption. The Republican Party, they're smart people, they're dynamic, they're constantly coming up with new ways of reaching out to these people. You asked about, is it a worldwide phenomenon? It absolutely is. America was ahead of the rest of the world in this regard of the party of the left reaching out to and becoming a party of affluent white-collar voters. But you see that now in France. You see it in Britain. You see it in Germany. You see it in Australia. You basically see it everywhere in the Western world, everywhere that I know.
Thomas, can I ask you a quote from one of my favorite quotes from What's the Matter with Kansas? I'll give the short version. Out here, the gravity of discontent pull only in one direction, to the right, and further to the right. Why? Why is that the case?
The Republican Party saw their opportunity. Look, when the Democrats became this sort of, made their outreach to affluent voters, to affluent white-collar professionals, the Republican Party said, look what they're doing. This is back in the Richard Nixon days. They said, look what they're doing. They're abandoning the most important, voting bloc in American life, which is working class people. In those days, the white working class, but now it's obviously expanded. And they developed all of these very ingenious ways of reaching out and winning over those voters and speaking to their discontent. They used to have a saying back in the 1970s. This is the right wing, by the way. The right wing of the Republican Party had a saying, organize discontent. Organized discontent. It sounds like something you'd hear from radical farmers in the 1890s. But no, that is the Republican Party that believes in organizing discontent.
Can I say?
Not dumb now, is it? Not dumb. Makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it?
That Ron Brownstein, for whom I have the utmost respect, and Catherine put it up on the screen, wrote about this subject in The Atlantic, essentially saying, hey, not so fast. Just one data point. He says, even though the major data sources all show that Trump carried only about 1/4 of non-white voters without a college degree in 2020, Biden actually carried a notably higher share of white voters without a college degree. So it's not as if the shift is complete. My final question for you is, take 30 seconds and tell me, where are we going?
Ron Brownstein is whistling past the graveyard. Ron Brownstein is one of these MSNBC analysts. He's one of these MSNBC people. And his answers are always going to come back, everything's okay with the Democrats. 'Tis only a flesh wound. Folks, all I can say is if he's the person you're listening to, you might as well go ahead, start packing up your bags and get ready to leave.
Show that Trump carried only about 1/4 of non-white voters without a college degree in 2020. Biden actually carried a notably higher share of white voters without a college degree. So it's not as if the shift is complete. My final question for you is, take 30 seconds and tell me, where are we going?
Oh. So look, Biden was, in a lot of ways, Biden was a hopeful sign. Biden, middle-class Joe, comes from Scranton, has those roots. But I'm afraid that, and people were willing to listen to Biden, and in some ways he did slightly reverse this, put this phenomenon into reverse. But I'm afraid that he hasn't really delivered on a lot of the things that we expected him to. And I was very hopeful. I was hopeful about Biden. I was even more hopeful about Barack Obama back in 2008. But, when these guys keep dropping the ball, it allows Republicans to do it again, to
dropping the ball. Sir, there is a marked difference between dropping a ball, throwing the ball down, and putting the ball around a baseball bat and busting you over the head with it. There's a difference between those three things, sir. When do you wake up, smell the coffee, and realize that you've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, call it whatever you will? When did you just accept that that is what has occurred to you? It's not an accident. This isn't fumbling the ball. This is the plan. Remember, Joe Biden wasn't even in office when he was talking about, now the Congressional Black Caucus, y'all need to be supporting Latinos, what you need to be doing. That you need to be supporting the Latinos. That's not accidental. That's not fumbling the ball. That's not a fluke. When you keep hearing that over and over again, that's not accidental, that's not fumbling no balls, and that's not no damn fluke. They're letting you know this is the plan. So to have somebody after all this time talking as if that's not the plan, this is the plan. To sit up here and tell you, we know exactly what it is you need. When they're on the campaign trail, boy, they know exactly what it is you need. They give speech after speech, boy, they get it, boy, they understand it. Remember when Barack Obama ran in 2007, y'all remember I told y'all, I'll be damned. He was on Meet the Press and he sounded like the Black Channel. In 2007, if you remember, I said it then, I'll be damned, he sounds like the Black Channel. He sounds like us. Of course I can support that. He's saying exactly what we were saying. Or at least at least it's seen that way from the beginning. And then just as soon as he started getting white support, here comes the turn. And all of a sudden you didn't hear about us no more. So he did what was necessary they told him why it was that he lost to Bobby Rush, and then next thing you know, he started tweaking the formula, trying to get together some faux black credentials, and next thing you know is when he came out the gate, they fixed his black problem. Okay, if you're gonna run for Senate, this is how you gotta talk if you're gonna get black support. Go ahead and do that, and once you got black folk behind you, swerve. Once you got black folk behind you, swerve. Swerve. And that's sure as hell what he did. Once he had black folk behind him, swerve. So now you're seeing this here going on 20 years later, going on 15 years later, and they're letting you know, we got the point. We're going to see if we can try it again, rinse and repeat. Everybody asked me, Jason, what's going to happen after the 2020 election? Do you think after the 2016 election, do you think the Democrats are going to get the point and change? Remember when I told y'all, hell no, they're going to double down on it. 2018, they tried to double down on it. 2020, double down again. I told y'all, no. They're going to sit up here and say, well, we're going to see if we can work this a little bit longer. We are not going to just give this up. We're not. I've been saying it to you the entire time. And now the corporate white media is finally conceding what I've been saying since day one and been telling you all now for over a decade, that this whole thing about we're going to bring in the Latino majority here, and don't worry, it's going to neutralize that black vote on the one hand, and then it's going to support the Democrats on the other, because here's the crazy thing. It will support the Democrats. Let's be very clear. It will support them, just not the way y'all are thinking. If you'll remember, back in the 1980s, Joe Biden was talking like the Republicans of today. Joe Biden was talking like the Republicans of today. See, this is a game that black folk are allowed to get run on themselves. There is very little daylight between the Democrats and the Republicans. Right now, they're here to hoodwink you and fool you into thinking that there is. They bring in these Latinos and whatnot and all these people with anti-black sentiments. Next thing you know, I told you about this last year, the Democrats are going to start talking like the Republicans again. They're going to start talking like the Republicans again. That's going to be the next swerve, is talking like the Republicans all over again. It's not accidental. It's not accidental when that kind of thing occurs. They know what they're doing. So when you see this happening here, this is the reason why I give you all as much of a heads up about this as I can. I gave it here a damn decade in advance. I gave it a decade in advance because I wanted you to see when this stuff here starts happening, they're not going to put it in its proper context. They're not going to put it in its proper context when these things occur here. They're not going to put it in its proper context. They are going to sit up here and try to deceive you about it and think that you waited a decade. Unfortunately for them, I am right here right now to make sure you all have it in its proper context. It is happening exactly the way that I told you it was going to. It is happening exactly the way I told you it was going to. Recognize that. This is going down exactly the way that I said. No, it's not a fluke when that occurs. Yes, they're very worried about that because they're trying to figure out how to keep the hegemony together the way it's always been, but it's getting harder. It's getting harder. It's not as easy as it used to be. It's a hell of a lot harder now. It ain't that damn simple anymore. Now they're trying to figure out how do we rework the formula in such a way as to be able to keep things the way they are, but convince folks that things are changing. Problem, people are getting more sophisticated. They're not listening to CNN anymore. If you want to know the real reason why it is that democracy, as you knew it, is starting to fail there, is because your propagandists are no longer being believed. Your propagandists are no longer being believed. Nobody is coming to CNN or Wolf Blitzer for their information. Nobody's listening to Roland Martin and saying, ooh, gotta vote like this. They're not doing that anymore. They're coming here to the new black media. They're taking their marching orders from here. They're having a real discussion. You got people who are not speaking 100 damn miles over their heads. We are explaining it to them and breaking it down to them in ways in which they can very easily understand this. And what they're hearing now is you're showing them that everything we told you was going to occur is exactly the way that it is. Exactly the way that we told you it would be. You can't be right this damn often and somehow it's just a fluke. No, that ain't a damn fluke. This is proper analysis. Somebody's been lying to you. And the more we explain this to people, the more they see, oh hell, this is not at all what we were thinking was going to occur. This is not at all what we thought was going to happen. They misinterpreted the information. It's all just coming down exactly the way I said it was going to be going here. And we're just getting started. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we're going to then put this into focus of black people, so don't you go anywhere. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. Before I do, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program here on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat. So big shout out to Miss Cordelia, as always, Miss Chatters, Mr. Taylor, Andrew L., Mark B., and Miss Hilliard. Thank you very much for your support on tonight's program. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When I come back, we are going to put this in context. Democracy falling exactly where they screwed up where black people are concerned. This is The Black Channel.
Just AutoCAD. SolidWorks. To please, so expect 24/7 technical support, the latest premium software, instant software links delivered to your email, and PayPal's buyer's protection guarantee.
Okay, I've been having the devil's own time here tonight. YouTube has been messing up with the switching over for the audio here, so I am not getting audio at all for my advertisements here tonight, so you all don't have to tell me. I can already tell it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing for the audio for it here. So that was part of the reason why I was as late as I was getting started here tonight, because usually it's not a problem, but obviously they're letting me know that I guess this is their contribution to tonight's program here. But that's perfectly fine here as well. We don't mind that at all, because all that really does is give me the opportunity to go ahead and jump right into these things here. So we're going to see if we can try to get this straightened out a little bit later. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and do this a little bit differently here. Thank you very much for sticking with us here. The reason why I was doing tonight's program is because there was something else I wanted you to see. There was something else I wanted you to see here. Putting this in its proper context, you can't have that without it. You want to know why the democracy is failing and why it is? You're talking to your historians and they're having hissy fits and every damn thing else going on right now. You know why? It's because of things like this. It is because of things like this. This is the reason you're having the trouble and the problems that you are. Because of things like this. This is the reason for it. You see, as black people, we already understood this. As black people, we already understood. You see, your democracy cannot hold when you got things like this going on. You've got an entire Emmett Till lynching act. The federal government has already acknowledged that what happened to Emmett Till was a lynching. They already acknowledged that. They already acknowledged that this was a lynching, and yet you have now had the federal government and the state government claim, oops, well, we convened grand juries when we took a look into it. Can't get nothing done. Don't know what to do. Oh boy, this was not just in Mississippi. This was also at the federal government level. This was also at the federal level. They made it very clear. Oh, hell no. No. We understand. We get it all. We get it. We absolutely understand it, and we are against you. I warned you all about Kristen Clark before she ever went to the Justice Department. I warned you about them before she ever went to the Justice Department. That was the whole reason why I said it then. I said it then because I wanted people to understand exactly what was happening. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't accidental. These folk are doing that because they know the whole idea here is that we're going to deny black folk. And what I'm telling you is that you have denied it until you made it part of the culture and whatnot. And what you were hoping was that you could go ahead and ride through forever. And that isn't the way it's going to occur. So we were watching this the whole damn time. We were watching this the whole damn time. We've been watching this since day one the entire damn time when everybody else was trying to convince you that something else was happening. How in the hell are you going to have an Emmett Till lynching act? An Emmett Till lynching act. It literally says the Emmett Till lynching act. And yet the folks who lynched Emmett Till, the federal government then says, oh, wasn't no crime committed there. Wasn't no crime committed there. There was no crime committed there. This is why I was telling you all before, this is a blood debt. You don't let this go. This is a blood debt. We don't ever allow this to go away. This is a blood debt. This is a blood debt for us. We're not unaware of what's happening here. When you got a blood debt like this, oh, hell no. And this is the kind of thing I want to remind you all of, because understand, Ebony and Essence and Bowling Ball Martin, they're not going to put this in any sort of context for you to remind you that, by the way, don't you have a so-called Emmett Till lynching act? How in the hell is it that there's an Emmett Till lynching act and you are not pursuing justice for Emmett Till? There's an Emmett Till lynching act, and then you tell us that Emmett Till didn't get lynched. There's an Emmett Till lynching act, but you aren't going after the people who lynched Emmett Till. So just understand it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all a mirage. It's all an illusion. So they sit up here and they say your name. See, they understand that Emmett Till was lynched. The whole thing is, okay, we will give lip service to acknowledging what happened to Emmett Till, but we ain't gonna do a damn thing. We'll give lip service to it. We will give lip service to what happened to Emmett Till. But just a lip service to it. That's the whole point. Just lip service. Now they understand that in the 21st century, we're not accepting lip service the way that we used to. Folks have gotten more sophisticated now. You can't get away with some of the stuff you were getting away with before. It ain't gonna work. It's gotten so bad to the point now that everybody is suspecting it. Everybody is expecting it now. Everyone is just expecting that that's what's going to occur. They're just expecting it. You're not fooling anyone. So you can't hoodwink anybody anymore. Now you're going to have some folks who are just very, very married to being defeated. And let's be very, very clear. There's a number of folks, they're just married to being defeated. They've been defeated for so damn long that they're used to it now. It doesn't bother them anymore. Being defeated and beaten doesn't bother them no more. They're all right with it. They're all right with being beaten. They're all right with being slugged over. They're okay with it. Problem. The demographics are making it very clear that those numbers are dropping precipitously. Those numbers are dropping precipitously. They don't have the support they used to have. That's not a population of folk that is growing. That's a population that is falling. That's a population that is falling. You know why? Because they accepted this kind of thing. We are more vocal than they ever were during the civil rights generation against this kind of injustice. We're more vocal than they ever were. This is a whole new ball game to them. So when you want to talk about the end of the American democracy, sir, if you really want to discuss that, sir, Mr. Willents, if you really want to discuss that, understand something. It begins with us. The end of the American democracy, all the things you're complaining about began with us. It begins and ends over here. Because we've been warning about this forever. This has been standard operating procedure of how you treat black people forever. And the problem now is black folk won't accept it anymore. And now you've gone off and tried it with a group of folk who they don't see it the same damn way. They're like, hey, let's get it cracking. Let's get it cracking. And see, what you're worried about is you can predict black people's behavior. How do you control a heavily armed, a highly armed, highly privileged white population? They're heavily armed and highly privileged. And you are going to tell individuals who see themselves as the masters of their own destiny and the masters of themselves what they can and cannot do. They are highly sensitive to any type of infringement on them. Take a look at all the hoes out there talking about abortion, something you can 100% control. And they're like, damn that. What they really want to do is have the ability to bash their babies' brains out of their skulls in the middle of the street. No, I'm not being hyperbolic. They're like, hey, whatever we want to do, however we want to do it. I'm white, damn it. Whatever we want to do, however we want to do it is on. Then you have dumb Negroes who try it and then end up locked up. Can't figure out what happened. Ooh, the white girls could do it. Why not me? The white fellas could do it. Why y'all locking me up? So just recognize what you're really taking a look at there. It's not going to turn out the same. American democracy falling, Let me give you another example of why in the world is falling here. This is the damn Democrat nominee for governor of the state of Pennsylvania. For the Senate in Pennsylvania. This is the Democrats' candidate for the Senate in Pennsylvania. On the campaign trail, had a stroke. Not dissing him for that, but I'm just saying, dude, you got bigger issues than trying to run for the damn Senate. You need to be checking in with your doctor on a regular basis. Who in the hell is the physician who cleared him to run for the damn Senate? Remember, Bernie Sanders had a heart attack while running for president in 2020. Remember? He had a damn heart attack. What the hell? Now this guy. And now Joe Biden, Joe Biden doesn't even know what country he's running. Joe Biden couldn't even tell you what country he's running right now. He couldn't tell you what he's the president of. He doesn't know if he's the president of the United States or the Kiwanis Club. He doesn't know what he's doing. You're literally watching a president in real time who you can tell is no longer in control of his mental faculties, and yet he's running the country. Now the Democrats have found yet another one here. Nancy Pelosi is doddering along. This guy here, we don't know what the hell's going on. He suffered a stroke. That didn't hurt. I can serve as your senator. Are you sure? Sir, are you sure? Who was the doctor who cleared this guy? Who was the doctor who did it? But that just goes ahead and shows you all just how desperate they are. When you have a party that is this desperate that you can literally be blind, crippled, crazy. You can literally be in the ICU and running for office. That's the definition of desperation. That's desperate. That's not political strategy. That's just plain old desperate. That shows you just how thin their bench really is. The bench is so damn thin over there on their side that these are the caliber of candidates that they're having to offer to the people. This is the caliber of candidate that they have to offer up. They don't have another option. They don't have another one. They've been trying and it ain't working. This is the best you can do to represent the party? Trump ain't had a damn stroke. Trump can remember, at least Trump can remember what country he's trying to take over. At least he can remember the name of it. At least he can articulate which one he's trying to grab. Biden doesn't know whether he's trying to be in charge of the United States of America or the United States of cheeseburgers. He literally has no clue. If we told him, sir, you have to run to be the king of Latveria. Okay, Victor Von Doom. All right. No, folks, you want to know what the end of American democracy looks like? It looks like this. It looks like this. What good is a democracy that tramples your rights? What good is a democracy that ignores your rights? What good is a democracy where you go into the courthouse and it says, okay, we're here to codify that we don't have to acknowledge your rights? What good is it? What purpose does it serve? Simple question. What purpose does such an institution serve? What is its reason for existing? Does it have a reason to exist anymore? Does it justify its existence any longer? Very simple question. And you all can now proffer some very simple answers. The telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933, your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. And as always, you are welcome to join us. So definitely go ahead and give us a call here. Or you can choose not to. I know I've been very incendiary tonight. I've been very, very offensive. A lot of folks are very offended by what they're hearing here tonight. And I get it. because you're not used to hearing that kind of thing here. Because a lot of folks here, I know you've been betting the farm that there was going to be a black-brown coalition. When we first told you that was simply not going to happen, boy, that offended the hell out of a lot of people. Remember that back then? That offended the hell out of a lot of people when we told them that back then. No, it's not going to happen. Now it's breaking down exactly the way that I predicted it was going to do. Exactly the way we predicted all the time, all along. It's going to begin by giving you the inkling and the notions that you got something else going on, but that is not what's going to happen. Not at all. Not at all. No wonder these folks are worried, concerned, and scared. I told them before, y'all are going to let this thing in through the front door, but it's not going to leave that way. Let's go ahead and grab a few phone calls here. Let me get caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Onan from Queens.
Onan from Queens. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so there's a point that you brought up earlier about minorities voting more Republican, like Asians and Hispanics, and I thought that's a very poignant point because I think the Democrats didn't realize how much Republican values actually line up with Hispanic and Asian values, right? I think they were trying to play the whole oppression game like they played with black people for so long, and that they would simply patronize, Asians and Latinos to get their vote.
I disagree.
The Republicans ended up gaining more ground.
No, that this was all smoke and mirrors. Malcolm X said it before. One party's job is to try to convince you that they like you. The other party's job is to convince you that they're against you. Why? Because they're both against you. The Democrats have always known this. This is a head fake by them. Understand something. Follow the tangible benefits, okay? If they truly believe that this was a problem or whatever, why is it that they've been front loading the tangible benefits for Latinos and blocking the tangible benefits for black people at every single turn? That's not accidental. That's the plan. So when they see us, they give us
absolutely planned.
No, slow down. When they see us, they give us lip service, but they're under no illusions about what they were trying to do. I submit to you all that the game plan was and is always that eventually there was going to be this swerve. That's what was supposed to happen. That there was going to be this swerve. And that they were going to sit up here and bring in the Latinos while pretending to be buddy-buddy with us. And then they would swerve. And next thing you know, what Biden said. Oh, Latinos are on top of y'all. So black people would basically be a farm team to the Latinos who would now be under the control of the Democrats. Instead, what you're seeing from the Republicans is a social strategy that they understand. They weren't counting on a guy like Donald Trump to just be so blatant about it. They were trying to tiptoe their way through the door. Trump said, damn, tiptoe and march boldly through this bastard. And that's exactly what he's done. And so as a result of that, you've now got a situation where the Republicans are like, well, I wonder if we can have a permanent majority. Now, there's something that hadn't been talked about before. Really, we could have a permanent Republican majority. Wonder if we could do that. Would the Latinos go along with it? Well, as long as they have the same belief structure. So the Democrats have always known it was there. They've always known it was there. What they were betting on was that they would be able to convince Latinos that they were a minority. So when you talk to the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes, that flies over there. They're okay with that over there, but that's only in large cities like New York. You see, you've got your Democrats who come from these very large urban centers, the New Yorks, the Los Angeleses, the Detroits, and they believe that the rest of the country operates the way that New York, LA, and Detroit do, or New York, LA, and DC. And nothing could be further from reality. New York, LA, and DC are outliers. They in no way represent the way the rest of the country thinks, operates, feels, responds, in no way. But you have a leadership of the party that's operating that way. However, I would tell you at this point, strategizing has become very, very daunting. You got Joe Biden. Does Joe Biden even remember what the plan for Hispanics was that they put into motion 40 years ago? Think about that for a moment. Does Joe even remember what the plan was supposed to be 40 years ago? how they were going to play this? Does he even remember what the swerve was supposed to be and when the swerve was supposed to happen? Does he even remember anymore, Onan?
Right. I don't think he does. But there's a lot of things that he has promised to minorities that he's forgotten over the years, conveniently forgotten. And it's just specifically against Black people. But Professor Black Truth, he had a video about 2 years ago about how it was so important for Black people to guard our culture, because if not, they're just left to the vultures of other cultures, whether they be Asians or Latinos or whoever. They just find a way to capitalize off of Black entertainment and Black innovation. And you've made the point also that, when we support these minority coalitions, we're essentially doing ourselves a disservice because we're ushering in our displacement. And that's something that I think we really need to keep in mind. But yeah, I just wanted to level that point. Otherwise, very good broadcast, brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 417. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, good evening, brother Jason. This is Alistair from Branson, Missouri. And, we're going to have to admit that the civil rights movement of the 60s really screwed us Black folks for generations, because what's happened is that we're talking about social integration, but what we really needed was economic. We needed economics. We needed all the benefits that many of us Black folks, when we first built this nation, being treated. We put all that wealth and everything else, and it was taken away. And we thought that, if we go ahead and do racial integration, we get accepted and everything else, and we'll get all that benefits and everything, which was not true, because what we did was that when we socially integrated, we gave away all the money and resources to other places like the Jewish community.
Well, social integration doesn't just give away, it doesn't just do that. Social integration took the eye off the ball. The idea that that proximity to other people will give us proximity to empowerment. That's the problem. The idea that we could be off by ourselves and still be okay. We were sold on the idea by some very skullduggerous individuals who were controlled by the power structure, by the way. That was always their plan, was to misinterpret what the solution really was and to say, well, if you could just get white folk to accept you. So what they did was they turned on a big pressure valve. So next thing you know, it became this Christian crusade to convince white folk to like us, as opposed to what everybody else was doing, which is saying, damn being liked, we need to be empowered, so whether you like us or not, we are no longer harmed by you. So worse than anything else, social integration took the eye off the ball of what it was supposed to be. Now, the Garveyites got it, the Nation of Islam got it, certain groups in Black society got it. When it came to the political level, they talked one way at first, and then they swerved at the last second, and okay, you're poor, got it. No businesses, got it. Black Wall Street burned up, got it. Urban centers bombed out, got it. And what you really need is an integrated bathroom. So just understand that swerve they keep doing. The same thing they're doing with us today here. Oh, your economics are screwed up, kids are messed up, crime in the neighborhoods. Okay, we got that. What you really need right now is LGBT rights. That's what you need. So just understand, this is not new. This has been the game plan the whole damn time. Rinse and repeat. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Just recognize, everybody, this has been the game plan the whole damn time. Every time we say what the issue is, they step right in. They act like some deaf grandfather. What was that you said? Economics. Oh, you need money, you said? Oh, okay, well, here's some LGBT rights. Now, he heard what the hell you just said. Every time you turn around, they play dumb. Now, when Latinos show up, they don't play dumb. When Asians show up, they don't play dumb. When we show up, they're letting you know where the real threat to white supremacy is. It rests only and solely with us. That's the reason why every time we show up, they start playing dumb. Caller from area code 929. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Daryl from Chicago.
Daryl from Chicago, what's on your mind?
Jason, another excellent broadcast as always. And I have to put the word honorable in front of your name because you deserve that. You shared this with us for over more than 9 years about these things that have been twisted and turned, and the air tried to pull out of every little cell that we push forward to do the things for us. And this is an excellent broadcast of pulling out the situation. Yes, nobody doesn't listen to CNN. And in addition to that, we don't listen to a lot of other things as well. And you have hit the nail right on the head on this situation as far as us understanding that they're not trying to do anything for us. They don't want to do anything for us. And the smoke screen. And you don't hear none of the Biden butt kisses out here. You don't hear nothing from none of them.
Well, they've gotten real quiet now because the bottom line is, I told you all this during the 2020 election, that we don't have to worry about a damn thing. Remember? I said all the folks sitting up here, all the Biden butt kissers, Roland Martin and friends. I'm like, dude, the weight is on you now. You're the ones who have to prove that Biden was the right choice. The pressure is off us. The pressure is on you. You got to prove that. And so far, it has just blown up in their damn faces. They've been trying to say every damn thing from HBCUs. I'm like, dude, you don't want to make your stand there. Then now, black farmers, you don't want to make your stand there. Healthcare, you damn sure don't want to make your stand there. So they've been backed into a corner. They don't have anything with which to stand on. They were supposed to get some big, huge thing, and it never occurred. So I said from the very beginning, the pressure is off of us. It's going to be up to all the Biden butt kissers to prove that this was a good decision. We don't have to prove anything now. And now, in the first 2 years, it has been an unmitigated disaster. So what they're going to do is what snakes and cowards always do. They're going to try to slide below the radar and fly below the radar and see if they can move beneath the surface. And they'll pop up in 2024 and say, well, yeah, he screwed up real bad, but at least he ain't Trump, and we don't live over that again. So just understand, the folks who are just dead enders and don't actually want anything, this has been an excellent opportunity to expose them for what they are. And in 2 years, when they're asked to show what the results are, they're going to understand it's going to be real crazy talk when you get there. It's all going to break down to exactly what it was 2 years ago. Well, we don't want Trump banging over now, do we? Thank you very much for giving us a call. It's going to break exactly the way it did 2 years ago. This has been a disaster. They were hoping the whole damn time, Biden, give us something. Give us something that we can support you on. Give us something we can defend you on. He never did it. Kamala Harris, ski-wee and sitting up here dancing and crip walking, and she hasn't brought them anything that they can use either. And we told them the whole damn time, hey, the pressure's not on us. The onus isn't on us anymore. It's on you now. You're the ones who have to show that this was a good idea, not us. We don't have to prove nothing. It's up to you now. The burden of proof is on you, not on us. Not on us. Caller from area code 229, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening. My name is Rod. I'm calling from the Valdosta area, Valdosta, Georgia.
All right, Rod from Valdosta, what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Hey, brother, I want to thank you because you have a very unique talent, and I want to thank you for not using it to rap or announce sports. You have a God-given gift, and you have ability to articulate for millions of us that feel the way that I feel that we're not able to articulate it the way that you do. With that said, white supremacy is now starting to see the pressure that we're feeling. But when we said, oh, it was brushed to the side. But when they feel it, oh, now it's a problem. Okay, now they starting to see it.
Well, now they're starting to see it and feel it. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And their reaction has been radically, markedly different now, isn't it? They didn't need 4 decades for the news media to take notice of that now, did they? Caller from area code 908. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Name is Omar from Trenton.
Omar from Trenton, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I got 2 things, Jason. I'll make it really quick. One thing is on my library for YouTube, your videos don't show up my library. For some odd reason, even if I refresh, it will not show up my library. It only happens with your videos. I'm like, how is this happening? but just letting you know, YouTube is definitely targeting you. Second thing, you said something interesting about that the Democrats themselves will never implode on themselves; they'll just regress back to what they used to be. And I thought that was interesting because with this whole thing of trying to get these immigrants in here, I figured that's the way they can do it. You can't go back to an all-white Democrat Party. That's probably not going to happen. But you get all these immigrants from these anti-black, anti-FBA areas, even areas that are black that have a high self-hatred about themselves, like a lot of areas in the African Caribbean, flood them in and have your Dixiecrats, but Dixiecrats in blackface or minority face or whatever you want to call it. And you can confuse the hell out of everybody else because these cats might talk all kind of crazy anti-FBA, anti-black. Like, wait, they're black like us. No, they're not. You know what I'm saying? You have your Dixiecrats there to confuse us and go ahead with what your actual agenda truly is. You know
and the agenda
is
to. That's why confusion is very important. This right now is meant to confuse you. Every time you talk to them, it's like talking to a schizophrenic person. You say one thing to them, and the response they give you is completely disconnected from what you just asked them about. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. That it's like talking to crazy people, but they're not crazy. They're scheming and conniving, but they're not crazy. Caller from area code 312. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, this is Holly from Chicago. I am thankful for what you're putting out today. You have uncovered the men in tights. Them feds is a bunch of little sissies always trying to pull the rug out from under black people. And they better give us our money and give Emmett Till his props because it's over for them.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. By the way, one more thing you all recognize here. By the way, you notice you're not hearing anything about white identity extremists. You're not hearing anything about rounding people up. You're not hearing anything about that. Did you notice that? You're not hearing anything about that right now. Did you get that? Did you get that? No white identity extremists. No, they're a threat to democracy. None of this stuff about we need to go round people up. No RICO. No anything. No RICO. No anything. Understand that. Do you recognize you're not hearing any of that talk right now? What happened to the damn insurrectionist and RICO talk and all this stuff? Where is it? Where is it? Where y'all at? I'm trying to figure out where the hell it is. Caller from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Thomas calling from Dallas, Texas.
All right, Thomas from Dallas. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Jason, the reason why you don't hear that talk because they remember Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols. That's what the federal government remember. That he went crazy because of the Waco situation. And so when they went up in Trump's camp, they looking at, well, we don't want to get this camp, we don't want to get these people stirred up like Timothy McVeigh did. And he killed over 260 people. And they know that it's people sitting out there just as crazy as Timothy McVeigh this day and time. So they know, man, they fooling with you know, some crazy people out here on their side.
Well, did you hear that? Did you hear what the man was saying, though? When that guy was talking about it, he let you know what the real issue was. Thomas Frank, when he said organized discontent, he let you know what he was really worried about. He let you know what he was really worried about. He let you know what he was really scared about. Think about that for a few moments. He let you know what he was worried about. Organizing. When you have a group of angry white men who are now openly discussing we need to organize, They understand it's not like black people. See, when black people try to get organized, we're immediately disrupted. We have never been allowed to get together in large groups, unimpeded, uninterrupted, and become organized. The few times you have seen it, things like the Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers, they immediately start stepping in and stamping out. They immediately start sowing discontent and civil wars between these groups. You ain't never seen nothing like that in American history. What they do to us, when the word organized begins among black people, the government immediately begins to mobilize against it. Now you have a group of white men who they've been allowed to organize now for decades and centuries. And now that group is like, yeah, maybe, you know. Understand something, y'all. They remember what happened with, well, what almost happened with Gretchen Whitmer. They remember what almost happened with her. A sitting governor in the United States who damn near got herself kidnapped and possibly murked by a group of organized white men. They remember that. And take a look what happened. They did that and then let them go. They did that and let them go. Don't you understand? Folks out there taking notice of that? I'll be damned. So I can go try to kidnap a governor and be let go. If you white men, sure. Cliven Bundy and his crew. You can go take over a whole damn federal building there. We'll go. Right. We'll give you the business. Okay, let them all go. Remember? Not once, but twice. So that's not a fluke. That's not a fluke. They're letting you know, oh, this is standard operating procedure. That's not a mistake. It's not a bug. It's a feature.
And all you have to do is go to a couple of these gun shows, and you'll see it. You would think, if you go to these gun shows, you would think the revolution is about to start the way they buying guns. So I see it all the time. I go to gun shows all the time, man. It's crazy. So yeah,
it's what that's called is a constant state of readiness. That takes a lot of discipline to just maintain this constant state of readiness. That's what you do when you're organized. Maybe the folks you're trying to go at, they ain't gonna make their move right now. They might make it in 5 years, 10 years, 40 years from now. They didn't just get up 40 years from now. They didn't just get up in 40 years and say, okay, we're making our move. They've been waiting and circling you this whole damn time. They've been trying to wait you out. They've been trying to see if there's an opening. It's like boxing. It's like MMA. Sometimes you duck and dodge people. Sometimes you circle them. Sometimes you circle them. So they might circle you for a week, a year, a decade. Are you dedicated and disciplined enough that you're willing to be on alert and at maximum readiness for a decade, 2 decades, 5 decades, a century? These folks are no less committed to going at you, but they're like, yeah, this might not be the year to go at you. Now, we'll check back on you in 10 years. Remember Osama bin Laden. Remember Osama bin Laden. Remember that. Gulf War I, 1991. Gulf War II, 2001. A decade later, remember Ramzi Youssef happened in what, 93, 94? Ramzi Youssef blew up set off the bombs of the World Trade Towers then, during the Clinton administration. Osama bin Laden doesn't come up until a decade after Gulf War I. What does he cite as his reason for doing the attacks? Gulf War I. A decade later, Ramzi Youssef wasn't one of his henchmen, but certainly a fellow traveler. These dudes been circling you for a minute. They didn't just come after you right after Gulf War I. Ramzi Youssef shows up a few years later. Osama bin Laden shows up over half a decade after that. Steadily circling you. Oh, I ain't coming at you this week. I'll come at you next year. Oh, y'all ready for me. Okay, let me come back. I'll check on you another year. Check back next year. Ooh, you still ready? Okay, let me holler back at you. Okay, y'all just changed presidents. Maybe this is the minute. Okay, let me go ahead and try it now. See, you have to have a mindset that understands a constant state of readiness, but you can't be in a constant state of readiness if somebody is always disrupting you. So they've allowed the white men to get into a constant state of readiness and organization and made sure that black people in particular, oh, you're too dangerous for that. Well, guess what? The white dudes are not happy now. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get here. Is this a Skype caller on the line? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, I'm Quatman, and I'm from Brazil.
Okay, Quatman from Brazil. What's on your mind?
Yeah, like so. One of the things I've been paying attention to has been some of those white conservative social media and things like that. And something that I recognize is happening is an overlapping of values, actually, between FBA and MAGA Republicans, as crazy as that sounds. It's not related to reparations, of course, but it is definitely related to Americanness versus non-Americanness. And I would love to know what y'all think about that.
Okay, that's a false statement. So that's a conflation. It's not really true. If you're going to say, well, I'm noticing a similarity of values, you can find that anywhere, starting with the values of breathing, drinking clean water. You can call that environmentalism if you'd like to. So that's really a stretch. The real question is, do MAGA Republicans believe in black empowerment?
Well, like I was watching, I saw a video from like Steve Bannon. I don't know if he believes in black empowerment.
Okay,
of
then
course,
if you don't know if he does, then the answer is no. If you got to guess about it, then you already know. Yeah. You already know that the answer is no. If you got to guess about it, you already know that.
Okay, well, yeah. Yes, yes, I can see that. But what do you think about them?
Okay, you're asking a lot of questions.
Because
you're asking a lot of questions.
Well, because right now, well, it's just because I see it, and I think it's a temporary alliance, right? Well, not really an alliance, but I see them targeting.
You're in Brazil. First of all, there's no
no
alliance, because for there to be an alliance, you have to show where they've done something for us. What have they done for us? This is all a lot of fictional talk, but let's get down to the reality. Show me the concrete tangibles that they've offered. What are they?
Well, what I did see at least during Trump's reign, was that even though some of it may have been just for show, I did see him being the only politician willing to say black. We see videos of him actually talking about how, yep, y'all built this country. You sure did. And he has been willing to engage black people, the biggest one, of course, being Ice Cube, and offering, even though it wasn't enough, but the $500 million deal for Black Americans specifically.
Okay,
and I saw the video of Steve Bannon.
You're talking about our intents. So far, you can't actually name anything specific that's been done.
No, I cannot.
Right, so therein lies the real issue. So
I can't.
We don't count intentions over here. We count tangibles. However, here's a better question.
Yes.
What have the Democrats done for us? Forget offered. What have they done?
The Democrats have not done anything. The place where I see the temporary overlapping of things, though, has to do with all of the illegal aliens that they obviously have the border open for. I see everybody everywhere wanting that closed, because people see it as an immediate threat, and the people most negatively affected by illegal immigration at that with those huge numbers, of course, is poor black folks.
Well, it's all black people. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. It's all black people.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, how'd you end up down there in Brazil?
Yeah, so. Shoot, like some of the stuff, they are not lying. They're not lying when they talking about a banana republic and third world country stuff, because that's the kind of stuff that you see here. Like they threw their last president in jail to get him out of power. Because their political class was too strong, and that is exactly what kind of the thing happening with Trump, which I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter, but I do see the overlap. And people here as well, they had a dictatorship, and they are terrified of it. So anything that looks like it's going in that direction, they vociferously fight against it. And I see, our people, Americans in general, starting to do this. I absolutely, though.
Well, I'm less concerned about placeholder
Yes.
names and labels. I'm concerned about our interests. We have no permanent friends, nor any permanent enemies, only permanent interests. That's the only thing we actually have. So as far as I'm concerned, everybody who walks through the door, I don't ask. Here's the real crazy thing about it. I shouldn't say crazy. Here's the real disciplined thing about it. I'm not going to ask them what they did 10 years ago. I'm certainly going to remember what their track records are, but I'm not going to ask them what they did 10 years ago, good or bad. I'm asking, what are you offering today? And that is the type of objective, agenda-driven policy that we have to have as black people. That we do not ask people, what did you do 10 years ago? We have to deal with the here and now. We can't allow people to keep coming back to us and trading on a name or trading on things they did 2 and 3 and 4 damn decades ago. We have to tell them, okay, what are you offering today? Not 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and not 10 years from now. What are you offering right this second? That's when you know that you're disciplined. I'll let you have the last word.
Well, this is absolutely true. And like I said, I be spying on those the white social media, and we can absolutely see the impact of black media because every single day now at this point, I see them talking about reparations, even amongst themselves. And I am starting to see, not a lot of them, but I am starting to see, the more that we put this information out there, the more that we actually share the history and frame all of it as a debt owed, not welfare, but we frame it as a debt owed and back it up with all of our recorded history from books, from old newspaper articles, pictures, and video. Like I see a lot of folks talking about that. Of course, everybody's not going to be on board with that, but
well, then again, they don't have to be. That's the good part about it. They don't have to be on board with it. We got where we are because we've gotten organized and coalesced around an agenda. That's more important than anything. As long as we do that, this isn't about getting everybody to agree with us. When they realize that our agenda is inevitable because we're not going to move, then they're going to get in line with it. That's called having real power. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight and checking in. Let me get call from area code 319. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Adonis from Des Moines.
Okay, sounds like you got the emergency broadcast system going on behind you. Is everything all right?
Yeah, everything's fine, Jason. I think that's the air conditioner. It's hot as hell outside.
Okay, you might want to get some more Freon in it to get some oil in it. What's on your mind?
I just want to say about the last call, the reason that we don't align ourselves with people like MAGA Republicans and things like that is kind of like the story of the old man and the snake. You know, these people find a way to piggyback off of us, and then all of a sudden the cause that we were fighting for is the secondary objective. So understand that. And as far as Donald Trump talking about reparations and all of this, just understand what the environment was in the USA at that point in time. People were rioting. People were afraid. We probably could have got just about anything we wanted if we would have took it a step further, you know. But what I really wanted to call about was I think that, I think that things are crazy right now, especially with Biden and all this, because, I mean, he's clearly got something wrong with him, you know, and Nancy Pelosi, she doesn't even feel the need to listen to him or the military. They both told her not to go to Taiwan, and she went and did it anyway, you know. So I think we're seeing some extreme displays of I'm white and I say so, and it's just getting more and more dangerous. And,
well,
you know, that's pretty much
she
all
couldn't have done that if that wasn't government policy, so don't be deceived about that. She couldn't have done that. You don't do something like that without the government's approval, period. Hell, you can't go to Cuba if they don't want you to, so Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me get call from area code 475. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, so Cook County, Connecticut.
Okay, your phone's breaking up on you here. I'll give you one more try here. He's on Struggle Mobile, y'all. What is your name? Where you calling from?
This is Black Espresso.
Okay, brother, I'm not really sure what's going on there, but it sounds like your Boost Mobile flip phone, Razor phone, is breaking up on you here, so try us back later. Let me get call of Miracle 310. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Thieves from Compton.
All right, Thieves from Compton, what's on your mind?
Man, it is very interesting. The white folks, they believe that we're supposed to just be happy with 70 years of just 70 years of what the civil rights things that King and whatnot have fought for, food stamps, welfare. This is what they tell us. We have our reparations, and so we're not supposed to expect anything else from the government like everybody else does. That was just a interesting point. Be one.
All right, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Definitely, like I say, if you want to discuss about the end of democracy and what that means and how that occurs, just understand where that really comes from here. And it comes from this. This will be your roots of it right here. This will be your roots of it. I also want you all to be aware of one other thing right here. When you hear people decrying this and talking about there's chaos and talking about there's chaos and they start talking about their worried things, just understand. These people very much believe that where there is chaos, there is opportunity. They very much believe that where there is chaos, there is opportunity. So don't you tell yourself for a minute that having some type of upheaval isn't going to play into their hands of having opportunity. They certainly believe in that. Let me take one more caller here. Let me get caller mirror code 708. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
TBA, this is James from Chicago.
James from Chicago, what's on your mind?
I just wanted to discuss the Emmett Till situation that you brought up and mention the fact that they have a Emmett Till lynching bill, the hate crime bill, or whatever the title is called, but we see that's not actually in place. They're not implementing that. And that reminds me of something I've heard Malcolm X say in a video years ago, that we already have the laws that are necessary. All of these policies and these laws about how we're supposed to be treated, they're already on the books. It's the fact that these laws are not implemented. These laws, nobody enforces the laws. And if a law isn't enforced, then the law is ultimately useless. It's just words written on a piece of paper. And that's the same thing that the Emmett Till whatever bill is just words written on a piece of paper, because we see when it comes to Carolyn Bryant, which was the reason the law was made in the first place, she's the whole reason the situation with Emmett Till happened in the first place. They're still not doing anything about her.
Well, just
So
remember
all of
that it
well,
is
we just need
laws
more
that are written or laws that are unwritten. The laws that are enforced is what you have to live under. Whether that law is written or whether that law is unwritten. If it is a law that is enforced, then that is the law. Very good point. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight. And definitely, I want to put that in its proper perspective for you all, that as we move forward, you recognize and understand exactly what we're dealing with. It's not accidental. You don't have this kind of situation by accident. You have this kind of situation by intent. The real question is what comes next. A lot of folks are worried right now. We shouldn't be among that number. A lot of folks are worried, but we shouldn't be amongst that number. We have the Black Channel and the new Black media so that you all can congregate and understand what is happening and position yourselves accordingly here. That's the whole point. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program here on PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. So thank you very much for your support. I want to thank all of you for tuning in here tonight. And if you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. We're glad to have your support. So click that red subscribe button, click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every weekend. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go there and definitely check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Race War, all available on DVD and on Amazon. You can go there at blackchannelfilms.com. Thank you all for showing up here tonight, and this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority, and until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, eat this, drink this, sleep this, think this, breathe this, feel this, live this, love this, everything we are, Black first.